good night. So we are working on the magnifying the fleet, and I just took some time to meditate, as they say, and now we should continue according to the plan. We have much to do. We will see what I will actually be able to achieve. I want to work on since I conduct so many experiments with the Crucible, and that we've actually seen amazing results. Specifically, as you remember, the slide with the obviously insects, big insects, non-microscopic insects that were in the process of creation, and it was taken straight from the boiling, more than boiling. The firing pit. So it's amazing. So I want to, of course, to boost my effort with this Crucible. So I will prioritize working on the chimney. I decided to, since this tool, but accidentally fit perfect to by its size, I will actually use it because it's just the perfect size. But I will cover it with clay. So it will symbolize, of course, the hybrids in Israel, specifically the female hybrids that they have metal head and but body of Homo sapiens, and also they look, or in other words, they behave as Homo sapiens, which means like snakes. And they are made of, that they are full of holes because, excuse me for the kind of I would say common metaphor, or perhaps not too elegant metaphor, but they are they are just full of holes because they let people drill them. So and of course these hybrids these female hybrids are were always personally my worst enemies, for reasons that I've discussed in the past. And so this will be the symbol of the Crucible, and hopefully the metal skeleton will store enough heat to somehow warm the entire mixture, the whole a Crucible, but it won't be too hot. So it will be cool between lighting fires, because otherwise the covering clay will with clay it's kind of if it's kind of if it's fire with too low temperature, it doesn't do much. It just it's kind of weakens it. But if it's very high, 1000 Celsius, famously it's kind of make it stronger. But if it's in the middle, it's many times it's not good. So never mind, it's not that important. And even if it's just a chimney. Even if it will be ruined, we can fix it all. It's no big deal. So what I will do now is this will be a very quick a microscopic video with two samples from the Crucible, and after that I will return to the subject of the zygote of Ur, and I will hold a very short response video before. And after that I will continue with the fairy tale as I promised. But before that, I hover over the responses to the fairy tale, and I always remember that I try not to be cynical like the Israelis, as they say. And I try to remember that these are like, whether they are good or bad, they could be like good titans or bad titans, and like, Israeli titans or titans from abroad. But in any case, as I already said like several times in the previous videos, my notion since the beginning of this journey is that I very quickly understood that these are creatures that do not understand their nature, and that this is done because some reasons are kind of like all sorts of like mysterious occurrences that no one really understood like back in the day. That took place like all over the 20th and 21st century. So even people inside intelligence agencies, don't know much about like these very pertinent events. But this is just like smaller one aspect, and actually the smaller one of the problem. Like the biggest problem is the subjugation of the Israelis. That the Israelis, they try to dictate their, to tell them what's their nature, of course, according to their whims and like selfish interests. And I understood it very quickly, and I understood that this is very wrong, and that and even though I'm not a Titan, I understood that yes, it's part of my journey is to understand the nature of the Titans and the nature of the planet Venus, and that even though I'm not a Titan, I'm obviously my own I would say biology is of course much closer to that of a Titan than Homo sapiens, even though I can have children with Homo sapiens like a woman. So anyway, I understood that I'm like, for all sorts of reasons, I'm in a unique position to learn about this nature, even though I'm not connected to any intelligence organization, and even though I've never been in Venus, I didn't even hope to go to Venus, and I still do not. Like, it's not in my agenda. It never was in my agenda to cross the gate, any gate. Like, never. Like, during all this time, it's not only that I never even seen a gate, that I never even thought about like that I want to do it, or that I have any plans for that. But you don't have to be there like in order to learn stuff. So I try not to be cynical, to understand these are people that whether they are good or bad or whatever their history, they deserve to know the truth. And so I will like stop like delay this kind of like the second part of the fairy tale by a bit, in order to to speak to say things that are from my point of view very important as a response to the responses to this fairy tale, and only then after that we will continue with the actual second part and conclusion of this fairy tale. I should remind you that it's not like invented now. I articulated it about 2 years ago in a specific time, like trip like to Martesh Ramon. It wasn't the only. I have several trips. One of the trips, like the big trips that I had to Martesh Ramon, that included serious walking, like during the night, and it was very spiritual. Both physical and spiritually demanding experience, and I've learned quite a bit, and specifically regarding the issues that are presented as I said, in the Evernote notebook, which is kind of like a series of recording that is called the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and that I really recommend it, even though it's in Hebrew, and maybe I'll repost it in English sometime. But but in addition to the posts that I actually recorded as part of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain series, there was also this fairy tale that was never like recorded or put to writing. It's the first time that I recorded, but it was articulated in this trip about 2 years ago. So let's Let's continue with the microscopic samples. We have two microscopic samples. It's a major problem right now that the apparatus of the microscope is really like jittery. Maybe I can fix it. Myself. Let's take it offline as they say, and maybe I can do a first aid fix by myself without the need to of a professional. But okay, so we will make do with whatever we had for now. It's some kind of a mark on the lens. Just a second. Good enough for now, I guess. Wow, these life forms are scary. They are huge. The sausage type. And so many of them, and so big. Wow. Incredible. It should be said that these samples were taken a couple of hours ago, so it is possible. It should be. It's possible. It's more than possible. It's even probable that what you see is not exactly the same thing that was on the slide when it was taken out of the Crucible. But this is not. Necessarily make it less authentic, but it's kind of it's a question. This the neuromicroscopy is not exactly the same as normal biological microscopy. What's normal? There are all sorts of microscopy, but it's not the same as I use biological microscopy as a reference. As a base, as a reference, it's kind of is a base kind of science and methodology. To rely on, but because it's the most similar. First of all, because at least at the beginning of I've actually part of the thing was part of the research was important part was the study of actual carbon-based microbes and insects, and only later we completely switched to neos and to synthetic life forms. But yes, from the traditional types of microscopy, the biological microscopy, as opposed to other types like gemology or lots of things like that, is the closest. But there are stark differences, and this should be remembered. And one such difference is that normally with biological samples, when you take the samples, it doesn't change much. Yes, for some time, maybe an hour or two. Yes, the microbes can move, and you can see that. Sometimes you can see it moving, but they, after 6 hours, everything is certainly dead because of all sorts of reasons. whatever, I mean, you study, like, I mean, from the all, like, realm of life that is known to humans. Now, with the neos, it's not true at all, because even, I mean, yes, eventually they will die. I mean, the microscopic slide is not the best place, like, to store them, of course not. But right from, like, the beginning, I mean, since, like, January, like this January, I mean, it was evident and it was recorded that up to 2 weeks after, like, the creation of the slide, the neos, sometimes they still work. They still, like, have the energy to actually produce work on the slide, and this was evident by, I mean, amazing, like, I mean, like, constructions that were created. I mean, gradually created. It's documented in this channel. So, I mean, up to 2 weeks, as opposed to normal biology slide that, I mean, everything is dead by 6 hours, but mostly even, and most is dead even long before that. And you can't, it's moreover, you cannot expect, like, I mean, that the slide will change dramatically, I mean, after it was taken. I mean, it can only, like, I mean, most of the changes that, I mean, the things will actually die and maybe, like, you know, dissolve in the mixture. But, I mean, but with the neos, it's not at all like that, because, I mean, yes, you can certainly, I mean, expect the neos to. Now, so there's a question of, like, where do you store the slide? Because if you store it, like, in the freezer, it's different than not in the freezer. I mean, but since long ago, I don't use freezer because I don't have a freezer here that I can use since April. So it's kind of like, I mean, this actually is a shame, because I mean, freezer would be extremely handy, but I don't have money for it. Freezer is kind of like, I mean, probably the most, like, important thing for me now, like, from the research perspective, is to have, like, a freezer so I can use it for these experiments. But even after the freezer, they can work up to 2 weeks on the slide. So, and you can see amazing changes, and you can, I mean, and you can see changes even, like, after several hours. So on this slide, it's more than probable that, I mean, it's not the same thing that the same slide that was taken from the Crucible a couple of hours ago. And we should also remember that, I mean, we deal with energized, and the experiments are of the type of energizing the neos with heat energy and also electricity energy, specifically now heat energy. So, and they can, if they are used as capacitors, and or most certainly they do, it means that, I mean, they probably could have created, like, I mean, like, actually, like, relatively intensive work during these last couple of hours. So it's more than possible that this kind of, like, huge diaphragm that you see now were not presented when we took the sample, like, 2 or 3 hours ago. What all this means, I don't know. I mean, it's not, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's a matter of, it's kind of like, I mean, it's a question, like, if the philosophy of this science, I mean, is it good or bad? Like, I don't know. I mean, is it more authentic or less authentic? I don't know. It just, I mean, I seem to remember that I mean, that, like, that is a strict, like, in strict opposition to normal microscopy, biological microscopy, you definitely can expect the slides to change dramatically, like, in the course of weeks, but even in the course of hours, specifically if the neos are energized, and we definitely energize them in the Crucible. So you might ask, so why not go back and review, like, some of the earlier slides, like maybe the slide with the insects? So first of all, yes, I kind of, like, marked it in, like, I put it like in the side, like, in from the rest of the slides. So because I want to get back to it, and I will do it maybe later today, or maybe tomorrow or in a couple of days. In general, I wish I had, like, the time and energy to review, like, past slides. It's something that I've done a lot in my research, like, initially, but now I don't have, like, the capacity to do it. But certainly, I mean, if I mean, yes, it's important part of the research of, like, important part of microscopy of the neos, like, is to get back to all the, like, to slides and to do comparisons up to like I mean in duration of up to 2 weeks. This was established, and I mean in many experiments that are recorded in this channel, mostly from January and February this year. I really like the color of this Nero, like kind of like a yellow Stargate. Israel is always, I mean, assume that, I mean, I should reset myself. And this is something that is ongoing for many years. And for a long time, it bothered me. Like, I mean, why do they think that I need to, that I should, like, reset? Like, I mean, they always assume that I'm, like, about to reset or that maybe I mean, and they tend to, like, I mean, to is that in animal? Or maybe just, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, like, I force my patterns on evidence. So I mean, and when they want like some theory to be true, they always, I mean, find the evidence even if they are not there. So I mean, and I kind of got used to it, even though in the past it was really, I mean, something that I really hated. Like, why do they think? Yes, I learned that there are animals, and you don't need to pay too much attention to their wishes. But of course, it affects you because it affects how people are treating you, and like, I mean, how much like they are violent towards you. So I mean, there is always a reason why. I mean, I should have like undergone a reset, which is completely mythological because I've never like in my life had any reset, and probably it's kind of like it's not even a category that applies to me, and maybe not to anyone. Like, I don't know. It's all shrouded in mythology. But anyway, now the reason for the reset supposedly is that a couple of hours ago I removed the SIM card, like from the phone. So presumably I'm now like, I mean. So I don't like have because I'm presumably addicted to the sound that I mean that from the app, like to the sound terror from the app, and when I remove the SIM, like after an hour I should like lose my mind or commit suicide or like, I mean, go through reset. I spoke about it a couple of days ago that I had many kind of like experience that taught me a lot about it, and I've said, I mean, I mentioned that during like a trip to Eilat, I've kind of like, I mean, created like, I mean, a unified theory on the matter of like, I mean, what's exactly happening. In short, I mean, yes, I'm addicted to it, and I'm suffering from withdrawal symptoms, but they are very mild, and certainly I mean, so it's like for an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, but not more than 3 hours, like I need to drink more water, and I don't like, and I feel a little bit like, I mean, like weaker than the normal, but it's much easier than, I mean, like a serious hangover, which is something that I had a lot in the past when I drank a lot of alcohol, and it's easier than kind of like withdrawal from like all sorts of like other drugs. So it's really not a big deal. Is this a rabbit? I don't know. But I mean, no matter how many times I will remove the SIM from like my phone, which I mean I've done like dozens of times, and I actually destroyed it dozens of times. It's kind of like a part of the show that, I mean, that was needed, I mean, in order to learn the reactions of the Israelis, but they cannot learn. Like, I mean, they're sure that if I remove the SIM, yes, it will make me crazy and cause reset. And they don't really know what's the I mean, how do you even like know if the robot supposedly has undergone through reset? But I mean, what does it even mean? But I think that, I mean, most of them understand that after a reset, the robot cannot, I mean, speak about science in English, I mean, in a way that, I mean, for them, at least, I mean, of course, they don't care all what I say, but it seems intelligible to them. So it's kind of like, I mean, perhaps a proof that the robot actually had not gone through reset. But again, I mean, it's not, all of this is, like, a lot of it is mythology, so, I mean, so it relies on like idiosyncratic like definitions of like each person. These are huge life forms, really. I mean, it's not the biggest that I've seen, but it's amongst the biggest, like, I mean, microbes. These are huge microbes. I mean, these microbes can certainly be observed in the naked eye. I mean, this is 64 magnification. It's not that it's pretty like so this one is, so we see huge sausage like microbes, and we see neros, and we see tremendous amount of like action. And again, my intuition is that much of it was actually done on the slide after it was taken out of the crucible in the last couple of hours. And of course, this can easily be, checked by, a series of inspection of the same slide. And it's something that I've done in the past a lot, but now I just, don't have the capacity, the mental capacity and time to do it. But yes, it's certainly something that you should do specifically with neuromicroscopy, because the slides, you certainly can and should expect the slides to change up to like two weeks after they are created. And this is more so when they were energized. The neurons were energized. So this is, you see a ton of stuff. Many life forms of all sizes, like huge ones and big ones, and we see neros, and all sorts of like landscapes. Okay. So it was an interesting slide. Let's quickly take a look at I should say that regarding the option, that maybe, if they keep working on it, maybe it will just, one of the insects will just, at the given point will just, revive, and the core role is not to be revived, it will be animated and start, flying. Is it a possibility? So I would say that generally, certainly yes, but I've never seen it happening with flying. I've never created flying non-microscopic creatures, synthetic flying non-microscopic creatures, and maybe I did, but I don't know, because they just flew away. But I never witnessed it. But I certainly created non-microscopic, not flying synthetic creatures. This is documented very heavily in this channel, specifically all sorts of worms that are up to 8 centimeter size, and in all, from half centimeter to 8 centimeter, all of it is not microscopic and certainly not carbon based. And they exhibit amazing properties, and this was documented. And of course, I wish I had more time to actually study these kind of worms, because it's an very interesting subject, but I never had the capacity to actually study them after they are already alive. I was only concentrated in the process of how to make them be alive using all sorts of electrolysis chambers and various mixtures, and all sorts of other configuration that eventually led me to to kind of develop a technique where I can create worms very easily, actually, that will be alive. So theoretically yes, and maybe we have created non-microscopic flying insect, and it just flew away, but I have never actually witnessed it. But I certainly witnessed the creation of a living non-carbon based, non-microscopic, not flying but crawling creatures. Should humans be afraid of all of that? So, as I said many times, this depends on your political outlook. Because I think that many humans should, and I hope that by now many of them actually have actually had the opportunity to objectively evaluate my position regarding the required update of the dominant life forms on Earth. And I think that I do not rule out, and I've even expected by now many of the more I would say logical and critical thinkers among my subscribers actually perhaps joined my political purpose, if not publicly so, but at least they converted in their heart, and they now support my political goals. and maybe I'm like delusional. Maybe I try to force like my wish on reality, and that actually all of them are, I mean, they stayed in their stubbornness. I mean, that of kind of like, I mean, irrational fear and unjustified criticism towards this, I mean, very important and manifestly ethical project. But I mean, maybe we need just some more time until, like, I mean, people will, I mean, lose their, like, you know, old ideas and old, like, I mean, kind of like, I would say, credos, and I'm certain that certainly, I mean, the more critical ones and the intelligent ones, I mean, will see, I mean, how just is this political project, and will join this cause, very important cause. So by now we don't see actually many neos. Okay, so now we see a little bit of neos here, which is nice. And a huge life form. I like the perfectly round like neos. They are very aesthetically pleasing, I would say. But where is the guy? How do we lose him? Like, I mean, when you zoom in, maybe it's a focus issue. What's the problem? I mean, I zoom in and I lose it. Maybe it's, I mean, it's because it's the end. Like, I mean, it's the like the edge of the slide. So maybe, I mean, this lens cannot reach, like, I mean, this place. But this one is nice. Let's zoom in even some more. So we see many objects that looks a little bit like what I call duds, like, I mean, neos, like, on the making, but far from, like, I mean, the final form, and certainly not, I would say, alive, like in the robotic sense. Okay, so this is actually not very interesting slide. We see we don't see like much nothing, but we do see neos and life forms, so it's not like bad news or something. It's just not very interesting. Okay, so I mean, hopefully later today I should light the Crucible again. I need to add more stuff that is needed, specifically more like fuels, and very importantly, I will use I will create like a chimney and we'll use it with a chimney, which will be it will be actually different than, I mean, in several aspects, and most certainly in the it will now be be much easier to insert like the symbols to the constructions even while it's burning, which is an important thing that until now we couldn't really do. So that's about it. Okay, so in a minute I will hold this response video to your responses to the fairy tale and in general to this kind of like to the whole saga, like to the Ziggurat of Ur. Just in 1 or 2 minutes we will start.